All right, we are live, ladies. We are live. Hello, Miss Elizabeth.
Hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. So, I do believe we are officially today launching our Leadership from the Heart series with Elizabeth and Renee. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. It's very fancy. We have
We're,
scrolling words and names. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. It's all you. You're the techie one. I am so not techie. So nice.
we're kicking it up a notch. And from what I understand, it's a very big day to have a special guest with us today and be the first guest on our new series.
I am very excited to introduce Julia Gentry to you all. So Julie is a friend of mine, but she's just this amazing person that when you know, even if you don't know her, you're drawn to her energy and her story and her mission. So she owns With Purpose, and she's a CEO. She's a growth coach. I met her a couple of years ago through a friend of mine here in Austin. They were traveling. Their story is so cool. Like, they are the coolest, most fun parents ever. But they had sold everything and they were living on the road. And at the time, they had 3 little ones. I mean, your little one at that time, he was little still, right?
Yep.
So they had 3, and they're just traveling, and she happened to meet a friend of mine, and my friend introduced him over for Easter brunch. And I mean, it's just kind of a crazy story, but I just love how they go with the flow and how laid back they were. And just when you talk to her, you learn so much from Julia. And so we would just become friends over the years. And now they're in Oregon, and she just had her 4th baby, like her 4th. I mean, he's what, maybe a couple weeks old, maybe?
Yeah, he's 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And so we're very excited, being a new mommy and everything you have on your plate, for you to come share with us and pour in to everybody watching. I know all about you and what gifts you have. And so I'm super excited to start off the Monday having you as our guest.
Well, thanks. It's actually a shock that I don't have a baby or someone on me. So I'm actually excited just to have some time by myself. Let's be honest.
Adult conversation. I mean,
Totally.
Well, tell us. Okay, so again, I know some of your background. I don't even know all your story, but share with us. Share with us kind of how this came to be and just what you do and what your purpose is.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because, and we've been reminiscing on how our journey started a lot lately, because you always kind of go, where does my journey start? Because I think everything leads, like, should I go all the way back to my childhood? But, for us in our entrepreneurial journey, we started in 2008. And so we actually were in real estate. We got into real estate and started our business when everybody was getting out. And so during these last 4 or 5 weeks, it's almost just like we're replaying all the emotions and all the things that, happened for us when we got started in real estate. And so for us, I married an entrepreneur. I don't think I would have ever been an entrepreneur. I was, truth be told, afraid to fail, afraid to try, afraid to be wrong. I needed to look right. It needed to be right. I had a lot going against me from just learned behavior. So I was crazy enough to marry an entrepreneur who was also crazy enough to start a real estate business in 2008. In short sales. We were specialized in short sales. So if you remember back then, we happened to hit the market spot on. And so that's when we kind of cut our teeth early on, that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And a lot of times when people are going left, it might serve you to go right, and when people are really afraid, maybe we should get 100 feet above the fear to go, what's really going on here? And so I don't think we had as much consciousness about those things as we do now. But we hit it spot on. So we did very well, very fast. I mean, we were managing 30 to 50 short sales a month. We were making more in a month than most people made in a year. I mean, it was really rapid success. And I was 21, mind you. So if most of you remember when you're 21, you just have a different priority scale. And so for us, that was our first step into life lessons, which was we were spending more than we were making. And even though we had built a very successful business, it was as though we were changing all of these things externally. Nothing changed internally. So within a couple of years, we had gone from hitting just, the top of the top to the lowest of the low. So we were $100,000 in debt. We actually moved into my mother's basement. It was, at that time, not cool. My husband would say, to be living in your mother-in-law's basement and kind of starting over again. But at that point in time, it was kind of the first notice of like, well, that's interesting. What's going on? Like, we didn't really know the business principles. We had just kind of fallen into them, and we built a business, but we didn't have all the metrics and systems and numbers. So from there, I actually became a business coach, because I figured, well, I could give my pain purpose. And I built a business, but maybe I could share some of my failures as much as my successes. And so I just stumbled into being a business coach and doing mastermind groups, and giving my pain purpose. I mean, really, for the first year, is all I taught is the things that made me successful. And I taught all the things that led to some major failures. And it was just the start of something great. So we shifted into doing business groups and mastermind groups. So I coached a couple hundred people in these mastermind groups for about 4 years. And that's what led me to doing the purpose work now, is because what I noticed in those 4 years is that it didn't matter how many systems or tools or best practices or how to hire or strategic plans you gave someone, there still seemed to be this invisible wall. It was like, it doesn't matter how many how-tos are out there, people were still not using them to the fullest, or there was excuses or reasons or these patterns, or like these like truly invisible barriers that were stopping people from their own success. And that is when it really kind of started for me, because I was like, from my own successes and my own failures, and then putting some of the pieces together, I just thought, man, there's a conversation that needs to be had here, that's much deeper than the one that we're having, which is why we started our purposed company, and also why we sold everything to travel the country in an RV.
I love that story, and just watching your family just interact. And I mean, I was putting myself in that picture. What if I did that? Right? When we were talking about that one day, what if I did? I think we would kill each other. But your kids are all happy and sheltered and loved. And I mean, it was really, really great. And I love that you aren't just teaching people or talking to people. You have a story. You lived through it. You can understand where they're coming from. You can understand the struggles, right? I think there's so many people out there that want to be coaches or want to be life coaches or business coaches, but they've never really lived it, right? Yeah. So how do you really dig into the deep, the trenches with people that you're trying to help when you don't have that experience yourself? So I mean, at the time, I'm sure you're like, okay, this is horrible, but now hindsight's 2020, looking back and see what you can do make it useful good.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I hate titles for the sake of titles, but a lot of my clients are, call me a growth coach, and really it's because I'm not a life coach. Like, it's your life. So how Renee does her life, how Elizabeth does her life, like, there is no how-to on how to do life, right? Like, it is all our own creative, like, abilities to create and manifest our own lives. And so I've always tried to steer clear of being a life coach and really focus more on growth, because growth fascinates me. I think that especially in times like right now, I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse with the coronavirus, but because it is so predominant in our life right now, I mean, growth is necessary. We have to grow, we have to evolve, we have to change in every and any area of our life. And a lot of us really fear change. We don't like the unknown. We don't like something that we can't measure. We don't like something we can't, quote unquote, depend on. And so for me, growth coach was more of the angle that we took, just because I'm fascinated by it. And I think it is just across the board so necessary in our life. So that's been easier for me to grab onto and to push in people's lives of like, how do we grow and be good at the process of growth? Because it is inevitable, and it isn't always pretty, and it isn't the way that we want. Nobody wanted the coronavirus, but there's an opportunity to grow, right? I have 4 kids, opportunity to grow, right? Travel the country in an RV, opportunity to grow. I wouldn't say that we all do it well, but we could if we understood the concepts of growth, which most don't, unfortunately.
Julie, I know you mentioned the coronavirus, and I obviously it is worth mentioning. When Elizabeth shared with me that you were going to join us for a conversation, I was reading some of your information and quotes, and one of the things that you shared a quote on, which I think is amazing, is that your greatest place of purpose is built from your greatest place of pain. And obviously that resonates with us today, all of us, because of coronavirus. And Elizabeth and I have shared a lot of conversation around understanding that we are going through pain, all different levels, and there's this crisis going on, but there is opportunity for growth. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is, I personally feel like I was built for times like this. I grew up in high levels of emotional stress, and not because I had a bad upbringing. I didn't. I mean, my parents got divorced when I was 5. That was about as traumatic as it was in growing up. But that was very traumatic for me. And so for me, I just always was in high levels of emotional stress. And so I've had to learn a lot about stress in order to be a healthy human, So these times for me are always really interesting because there is huge opportunity here, but you have to learn the art of crisis. You have to learn the art of change. And so, there's quotes that say that does crisis reveal a man to himself, or does the man reveal himself to crisis? And I think that what we have to look at is that when crisis or change or the unknown or something new, or even in my life, like 4 kids, this is a beautiful blessing, but it's still new and it's still changed. So as dramatic as the coronavirus, or something as beautiful and such a blessing as 4 kids, we all get real triggered in change, because what we're doing is we're wading the waters of the unknown. And we all would prefer a familiar hell to an unfamiliar heaven. And I think part of the reason why is because if we're not careful, we really like the things that we can control, the things that we can measure. Life is good when everything's kind of buttoned up tight. And what we do is we're not understanding how we're built for just resilience. We are built that courage is on the inside of us, resilience is on the inside of us, joy is on the inside of us, but so is anger and frustration and worry and doubt. And so often in times like this, what it's doing is it's squeezing us. Like if you were to picture us squeezing a tube of toothpaste, what already is on the inside of us is going to come out of us. So this is just opportunity right now to show what's on the inside of us. And even though we're uncomfortable, it is such a place of purpose, because now what it's doing is it's saying, what's most important to me? What do I really want most, right? Or if I'm really fearful or worried or doubt is coming up, that's going to give me an opportunity to go, okay, I can start making decisions from this place, or I can shift this thing and start to find a greater place of purpose. And unfortunately, our pain doesn't automatically equal purpose. We have to use our pain to have purpose, right? Pain in and of itself can be pain, and we can make a lot of survival-based decisions, fear-based decisions, worry-based decisions, or we can choose to say, look, this place of pain could ultimately give me purpose if I shift the dime, if I change paradigms, if I choose to rethink about this thing, it will give me perspective. But it is that conscious shift that I think is where most people get stuck, because what we do is we fall kind of, I hate this is a big word, but into that victim, like it's happening to me, as opposed to, wait a minute, what if this really was happening for me? What if I was born for this? What if I give this purpose? What if I give this meaning? What if I give this reason? Then that's where the potential is the ability to rethink that and look at it from a different perspective.
It's pretty powerful. One of the things that I love that you've been doing, or you were doing, is you've created events, right? Which obviously nobody can really do those right now, but you came to Austin, you'd already moved, you'd come to Austin and you did an event. Was that August or September? When was that?
Yep, September.
And I was so excited about it because it was a whole weekend of just Julia pouring in and vulnerability, which quite frankly, I was very scared about. Like that was my big hesitation. But I'm like, you know what? Like we're all safe. We're all learning. It's all about the growth. And I had a number of people that were going to go, and I had some clients that were going to go, and I was signed up to go. And I think that's the weekend my niece passed away. And I ended up, that was growth in a whole different way, but I had to miss out on that event. And it was one of those things I kind of grieved. I was really sad that I missed out on, because I heard from other people that had attended on how amazing and impactful that was. It was that a lot of what you're doing in your coaching, your day-to-day with people, or is that something you're more focused on where you're having these smaller, more intimate events? Like, where is your heart taking you with all of this?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the question. I think the fact that you even put the word heart in there is really big. I believe we are moving. I just think that this is a time. So if you were to ask me, like, what's my prediction right now? What do I believe is going to shake out with this coronavirus? Where do I think we're all going to stand? Bottom line, who the hell knows? I'll be totally honest. No freaking clue where this is going to go. However, my prediction is that this time right now, we are going to be not forced. I think we're given the opportunity to go from head to heart. I think that we're moving into a season where it's going to require dreamers to stand up and rise up. I think that we're moving into a season where people are going to have to get out of their head, and they're going to have to get out of logic and reason and statistics and the news and everything that's going on around us, and that they're going to actually have to be accounted for. Because here's what I believe about a dreamer, is that a dreamer is all about heart. So to your point, when you asked me to do this heart-based leadership, I was like, yes, 1,000,000% yes. Dreaming is not for the faint of heart. Dreaming is for people with heart. You look at people like Martin Luther King, Oprah, Muhammad Ali, even Conor McGregor, if you like him or not, as UFC fighter. These people have made very strategic decisions that are all heart-based, that made no sense logically. Like if we went back to where Martin Luther King started making the decisions he was making and leading the revolution he was leading, logic could not be included in the conversation, because he would have looked at himself and gone, this is bonkers. Like, this is insane. Nobody's ever done this. Nobody's going to listen. Like the injustices are sky high. The volume around us is huge. And so I believe that we need people who are going to have the courage to get out of their head, to stop seeing with their physical eyes. And they're going to have to go to a level deeper to go, what do I believe to be true about this world, about humanity, about what's important? And they're going to have to learn how to create from this heart space, which is really freaking hard, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's no analytics, and there's no metrics, and there's no end date, there's no goal. It's just an ability, like Indiana Jones, to take one step at a time and to see only the next move. And so everything that I'm starting to do now, because my world kind of got disrupted as well, we haven't done a ton online, is we're shifting a lot online. We've got a weekly dream mastermind group, which is really helping people master their mind so they can connect with themselves at a deeper, truer, pure level. We're starting to do online courses. I'm doing way more on social media, tons of free content, and then courses so people learn how to step into this kind of thing, because I think those are the people that are going to pull us through this. It's people who have the courage to create what's never been created. It's going to be people who have the courage to move forward even when financially it's hard, or emotionally it's hard, or we have to create from a place we've never created before. I just think that that's going to be required. So everything that we're doing now is shifting towards helping those people who say, that's me, that's me, and I need to learn the mental, emotional, and literal tactics around how to do that.
With the fear that is around right now, right? I feel guilty saying this. But being transparent, I haven't had a lot of fear. Like the emotions and the feelings that I've experienced are other things, not necessarily fear though. And I've tried to figure out why that is. Renee and I both made it through 2008, right? And we came out way ahead of where we were before. Maybe we've learned from those experiences. Maybe hindsight is 2020, and I'm reacting in a different way. But I've just been taking one thing at a time, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. And we've talked a lot about on the show that some days are great, some days are good, some days are just they need to start over or just forget that they ever happened. But fear isn't really something I've experienced all that much. But I know a lot of people are. I know there's a lot of fear of loved ones, a lot of fear of job loss, security, income, what's next, school. How are you, and I'm sure you're hearing this from a lot of people, how are you kind of combating that? How are you helping them overcome fear? Because it's such a big impact in so many different ways for people.
Totally. So I think, again, this is the key to getting into your heart. So to your point, I am human too. So believe me, I have my days too. You're like, oh, this does not end well. What is going on? But so let's say we just all call it something, right? Someone calls it fear, someone calls it worry, someone calls it just trying to be here. Like what being in your heart and going deeper as a human being actually means. This is not woo-woo. And in times like this, it proves how important the inner game is, not just the outer game. So what I mean for anybody, who wherever you are today, even if you're thriving, I mean, right now there are companies that are doing extremely Zoom, right? Look at Zoom, perfect example. Like, believe so there, it's across the board. What I think that it does in times like this, and when we are required to go deeper within ourselves, is the day-to-day game of being present. So I think our biggest problem 90 days ago, today, and even in 90 more days will be living present, right? Because we have some people that are too much in the past. We have some people who are too much in the future. We have some people that are worried about quotas. We have some people that are worried about, well, what about this? We're trying to control and compartmentalize our life. And no matter how hard you try, it's not where your energy should go. Because if I am worried or fearful about what's going to happen in 30 days or 3 days, what it's doing is it's taking all the energy and capacity that I have for this present moment. Okay, so I'm a big planner. I'm not suggesting that we throw caution to the wind, or that we don't listen to the news and what it's informing us of, or that we don't have a year strategy or a 5-year strategy. I'm not suggesting we don't have those things. However, what I am suggesting is that we don't give our heart to those things, because all of us had a year plan for this year, right? And coronavirus was not on it. Right. But however, in order to stay present doesn't mean I give up on my goals. It might mean that I push them back a little bit. It might mean that I have to shift. It might mean that I have to get some help. It might mean, it could mean a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that I just give up on the goal. What it does mean, and what I think all of this is requiring all of us to do, is to get so much into the present moment that it says, I have to work on my inner game so that the outer game doesn't rule my life. Fear could absolutely rule our life, but what is it going to serve? I could be afraid of tomorrow. Tomorrow is not here, right? And if I actually start working on my inner game and going, you know what? I believe that God is with me, that the universe has our back, that all things are possible, and that I am strong enough for this moment. What I have to do is I have to start working those inner muscles so hard and so consistently that regardless of what's going on around me, that I am steadfast in what's going on within me. Because a steadfast person is going to make good decisions even when I do lose a loved one, and even when I do have some financial setbacks, and even when the market or the industry or the economy does shift. We need more steadfast people, faith-based people, courageous people to be like truly strengthening themselves than the opposite. Because here's the truth. Courage is hard. Fear is hard. Faith is hard. Worry is hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all hard. I mean, I hate to put it this way, but it's all hard, but one is going to make you better. And so even if you have lost a loved one, lost your job, lost your mind, whatever that might mean, all that I can say for me and the people around me is to go, but I want to be better on the other side of this. We will get through it, and I want to be better. So I have to start working my inner game so my outer game starts to reflect it.
Right.
You're really sharing some very powerful thoughts, and it's so poignant right now as a reminder to really being able to focus. I love that you mentioned focusing on this moment doesn't mean you have a long-term strategy. Focusing on this moment doesn't mean you're abandoning the macro of what we're doing. Totally. It's important that we're reminding everyone and ourselves right now is it's a very micro world. And I've been feeling like, Julia, that if we go too far out into the future with projections, which there's no crystal ball, right, that's when fear does creep in anyway. Totally. So to get that out of the driver's seat and make sure that fear is pushed out, which I'm human, it comes up too, but it has been much easier to navigate through the days by making sure fear's out of the driver's seat. I know what I need to do right now.
Totally.
Right now.
Yes. And and that's, again, it's a woo-woo concept until it's not. Like these things are like principles that have been around for centuries, and they're nice and they're pretty until they become like a necessity. And I think, I don't wish this on anyone, and I just think that the beauty of all of this is how much it's getting us to look in And I think that what happens when we start to become like off, when we feel off or agitated or triggered or just angry, frustrated, any of the things, here's what I've learned is a lot of times what's happening is that we had an expectation. So I was supposed to be in Hawaii right now. I expected that by Q2 I was supposed to be making X amount of money. I expected that when I had a baby, I'd have a big gathering. And so what happens is that we have these conscious or unconscious expectations that aren't met. That's the problem. And then we trigger, and then we freak out, and then it's like, oh my gosh. So sometimes goal setting can be a little dangerous if you're writing a lot of expectations, because what we're wanting and what we become addicted to is the end result as opposed to the journey or the process. And when we become so addicted to the thing, we lose ourselves. So when something does shift, or it gets postponed, or someone doesn't show up, or someone doesn't say what we think, or the coronavirus totally catches us off guard, our expectations aren't met, and then we get super frazzled. So the art of this is to be able to live a life, and Michael Singer talks a lot about this in his book Untethered Soul, and I love that man. His gifts that he brought to the planet are amazing, but he talks about we've got expectations. So it's our unmet expectations that's got us all riled. And so what we have to do is to realize, okay, that was an expectation that wasn't met because I'm pissed off, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm deflated, I'm defeated. Okay, missed expectations. So how do I get back into my present? Now that it is, whatever is, how do I want to show up, right? Do I want to be creative? Do I want to live engaged? Do I want to be more aware? Do I want more joy and peace? Do I want to find what's next? Again, statistically speaking, before the coronavirus hit, do you know that 70% of human beings are disengaged or don't like their career in life? 70%. So
that's a huge number.
It's a huge, and this is before coronavirus. So it's almost like, be careful what you wish for, because we just got the most massive reset for people to go, okay, didn't like my job before, lost my job, what now? Like, what do I want to do now? Anything. I mean, you get the opportunity now. And so now it's kind of like, oh, I just pray that we use this as a chance to go, all right, I'm pushing the reset button, or it's been pushed for me. Now what? What do I really want now?
Well, now use this time for good. Use this opportunity for good. And it's interesting you talking about expectations, because as you're saying this and talking through it, I'm thinking, in the times that I've had a lot of frustration or anxiety or disappointment, is really stemming around all the expectations, right? I mean, every family, every household is dealing with different expectations in different ways. I mean, we had trips planned. We had, graduations. I'm thinking about all my friends that have seniors graduating, or I have a fifth grader that I realized over the weekend, we're not going to be back at that elementary school. Like, that was, right? I mean, that was for elementary school kind of moving on, or eighth graders or whatever. So all these expectations, you make a very good point that I haven't really digested before.
Yeah. And then the next step in this, because here's what I think we have to learn about expectations is, the goal of when we get present means you really live and you love with your whole heart, which means you feel at a really deep level, right? So our numbing mechanisms, avoidance, busy, drugs, alcohol, work, we all have something that we hide behind, right? Because we don't want to feel. I get it. I was a practiced don't feeler for the first 28 years of my life, because I did not want to be hurt or disappointed at the levels that I was. So for me, I had to really, really, really learn how to do this, and still do. When you have an unmet expectation, there is a time that you have to let yourself grieve. You have to let yourself feel what you needed to feel. Otherwise, what you're doing is, it's almost like you're just covering up a scab without letting it heal, or you keep picking that thing off and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And so what I would say to the people who, my sister-in-law is one of them, they don't get to do the whole graduation with their senior this year. And to me, like, that's so sad. That can be very devastating. You have some people that lost a loved one and you had in your mind the next 30 years together. That's soul crushing, or you were supposed to have these deadlines or these quotas that you really wanted to hit, and now they're totally reset or completely lost. And so I think it's important to first go, okay, unmet expectation right there, or a relationship, right? I don't have as good a relationship with my dad as I would want. Boom, unmet expectation. Now I need to grieve. I need to walk myself through the process of feeling all the emotions, sad, angry, depressed, depleted. I have to walk myself through it. And then I need to reset and rethink, which is I have to stand in a creative zone, just like the creator of God, the universe, whatever, like they created. So it's my job to now create. So my sister-in-law, I mean, the ideas that they're coming up with on how to make Braden's graduation more special, you're like, it may be more special than it could have ever been before because she had the courage to recognize the unmet expectation, to grieve about it, and now throw a freaking huge party in a different way. Or, you know, he was like, I don't really care what I'd really like to do this. And she's like, I had no idea. Like, I didn't know that that was important to you. And, you know, so if you can walk yourself through that from awareness to now all of a sudden true, like, focused on your current grief into like creation zone, that's huge. That's kind of the actual equation is 1, 2, 3, but one without the other. Yeah, you may be frustrated. We are frustrated.
You just made the little hairs on the back of my neck stand up with goosebumps because you just hit home really, really, really close. I consider myself a person who has a pretty positive outlook. I've considered myself, thanks to having great friends and support like Elizabeth, to navigate this process. We've been healthy, thank the Lord. We've been getting through it okay. One of the areas that I was hung up in my mindset, admittedly, was the then upcoming birthday for my kiddos, which just passed this weekend.
Yep.
And what was going on in my mindset was I was focused on all the things they were going to miss out on.
Totally.
And I know that's not necessarily a bad thing, like you're saying, Julia, is to kind of work your way through that. But leading into their birthday, my mind, and I wasn't sharing it with them, although they know now because we've talked about it, I was like, they're not going to get to see their family in the same way. They won't get to have a party and all these things, right? What ended up transpiring is fellow team members surprised our family with a birthday car parade Saturday. Mm-hmm. And it was the most emotional and powerful moment. So what we realized and learned through that whole thing, looking back at it, is and I asked the kids, how do you rate your birthday this year on a scale of 1 to 10? And they both resoundingly said it was a 10. And I came back to myself thinking, shame on me for projecting a mindset that felt like there was a loss, because it ended up being so memorable and so epic and so beautiful. I hadn't allowed myself to wrap my brain around that possibility.
Totally. And well, and you bring is such a huge point, because I think that example is like, again, if I could give a insight into what I think is happening in this next season of our lives, is exactly that, where we are, especially people in business, and I would assume a lot of people that follow you, like heart leadership, they're leaders, they're in business, you know, or they have kind of that mindset, is we can really get into willpower zone, right? Like conquer and push and charge and go and all the things, and still miss the opportunity that like you couldn't have planned or put on a surprise parade if you tried. Like that was not in your control. It was beyond you. And I think that's how God shows up. You know, like we do everything that we can, and then yet there's like this beautiful like energy in God and universe that's like, I got you. Like I want to show you how I can wow you, you know? And I just think that's going to be huge for us moving forward, is to get as present as we can. To your point, go, okay, I gotta check my mindset and where I'm at, and then to watch how it like comes together, and we as people come together and the pieces come together. And I just think that we could be in a season of like being wowed if we would just let go of control and let go of like angst and anxiety and willpower and like all the things. I just don't know that that's sustainable.
Well, I unfortunately fall into the habit of being extremely busy. For whatever the day is, for whatever reason, our schedule is always packed, chock full. Mine is. I get a lot done, but I project that on my family and my kids are involved in everything. And you know what I mean? My husband's much more a homebody. He'd rather stay home, and I'm like, no, we got to go, right? this has been very therapeutic, if you will, because none of us can do anything, right? It's not that it's just the Rileys are at home. I mean, all their sports are canceled. Everything is canceled. So we are all forced to be home doing this and facing this reality together. What was interesting is early on, Renee and I, our families have both been, I think today's what, 46?
Yep, 46.
Now it's just like a game. Okay, how long can we go?
Wait a minute, Elizabeth, you mean it's 8,367 and a half?
I think so. But it's interesting because early on, again, I was saying that I wasn't really fearful, and I was, some days were better than others, but my kids were having a much different reaction. And there was a lot of bickering and a lot of challenges and a lot of just, I get it. But it wasn't until we all sat down and we just allowed them to vent that frustration.
Totally.
It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to speak up. Others are feeling that way too. And if you speak up, wow, oh, I didn't know you were feeling that way. I'm feeling this way as well. And we kind of turned a corner recently, but yesterday was really powerful for me. I don't know if it's because we finally left the house. I mean, we haven't been leaving. If we go anywhere, my husband goes all suited up to the grocery store and comes home. But as a family, we haven't left, right? And for a family that's used to going 90 miles a minute, that's hard. But yesterday we said, okay, the weather's beautiful. We're packing up. We're going to go to the park. We're going to go to where nobody is. We got some sunshine. But I realized the day was like in slow motion. And I was saying this, and it wasn't just me. It was my kids too. They're like, Mom, this is one of the best days. My kids all were loving on each other. They were all laughing. I mean, it was so joyful. And I was sitting there watching all of this. And I'm not kidding. My whole day was like in slow motion. I will never be able to experience that or explain that again.
Yeah.
But I was realizing this is what life is supposed to be. This is when you talk about living purposefully, right, Julia? I think this is what you're talking about. You're talking about, I don't have to keep up with what everybody else is doing. People aren't setting my goals for me, right? My goals and my focus is my family. And this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I'm just clinging to every moment of yesterday, just saying, okay, when we all come out of this, let's remember this day. Let's remember this feeling. Let's remember how it made us act together and as a family and as a community. And that was super powerful for me yesterday. And it took a while to get there, but I mean, I'm hopeful that most people are feeling the same way as they're having to be creative. Renee had a great weekend too with her boys. I mean, that was amazing what you guys got to experience. And like you said, what we had yesterday would have never happened because, I don't know, we're running to church, we're inhaling food, we're running to lacrosse, you know what I mean? That would have never happened otherwise.
Well, what we learned from it is we were assuming a void, and then it ended up there was no void. In fact, it was even more fulfilling than our brains could have imagined.
Yes.
Because before, not saying it's wrong, but we would have planned a party and it would have been, I would have been stressed leading into it and all the ins and outs and logistics. Instead, we got up and this beautiful thing happened and we made dinner at home for the kids. They loved it. We had the most fulfilling day. I mean, I still get goosebumps. So it was a lesson learned to me.
Totally. And I think the part of this too is, again, I am a doer, right? Like I am a goer for sure. So again, I really come from, I don't come from this background of like meditation and yoga. Like that ain't my style. And so I think there is this beautiful dance with being and doing. One without the other would be lost. But I think that, Renee, you just said something, it's more fulfilling than our brain could have imagined. Exactly, because our brains are wired for survival. Our brains are wired to compartmentalize and understand and stay the same. Our brains are designed to not die. They're designed to measure. So what's happening right now is that if we can shift into a much deeper understanding, which is a truer, Elizabeth, what you're talking about, when things start to slow down around you, it's because you're dumping deeper than up here, right? And that's where I think we're getting shifted into, is that people are going, I need to go down here and I need to live from a deeper level, because from this level, you can create anything. And the fact of the matter is we actually create less from right here. So if you're a doer and a busy bee, and avoidance, busy, and comparison are the traps of like our century, right? It's either I'm just going to avoid it, we'll deal with it later, and later never comes. Busy, we have a million things going on, a million agendas, we have a million tabs on our phone, we have a million followers, we're just overly involved, right? And then comparison, which is what is he doing? What is she doing? What is the industry doing? What are they doing? What I used to do, what I should be doing. Yeah. Those things will be traps all day long. And so what this is doing is getting us at such a deeper level that we actually manifest and create from that place to the point that your brain could have never imagined it. That's exactly where you should be. 100%. 100%.
That's awesome.
Leading from the heart.
Elizabeth, you always say comparison kills joy, right?
I always say that, yeah.
Always. Yeah, well, comparison kills grief. Yes.
I always say it to those around me, but I also say it as a reminder to myself.
Yeah.
Because you're exactly, Julia, avoidance is my thing. It's like if there is confrontation or if there is something I don't want to do, I will avoid it, and I'm very good at that. Busyness, yeah, absolutely. And comparison, exactly what you said, those three things. But I say that mostly as a reminder to myself, but comparison kills joy. No matter what you're doing, whether it's work, family, business, life, it doesn't matter. I've realized there's really no room for it in our life. And the growth that we're experiencing, you know, we've been talking to executives and business leaders and things like that, but in the growth we're all experiencing in our business during this time, what you're talking about and what we're sharing too is really the growth in our families and our personal self. That really a lot more unexpected for me anyway.
Yep, for sure.
Well, look at what we're learning today from Julia, right? I mean, you're getting into my heart, and I'm just so grateful that you're sharing what you're sharing, because it's raw right now. And that's the other thing is, I just speak for myself. I feel like sometimes if you're getting into that raw space too, that is another time fear can creep in. And so just understanding that we have to just kind of trust the process and focus on the micro. Just focus on the micro right now.
Yeah. And it is hard. I mean, that's why, again, I think that the heart, again, I've had, I think this was even at the Austin event, and we just kind of started talking about heart. And one girl goes, yeah, I always love my heart. Like, I'm one of the most emotional people I know. And I go, okay, wait, let me be very clear. Just because you're emotional does not mean you live from heart. And in fact, I would even suggest you don't, because if you're this just emotional being, emotionally making decisions, that is not heart. If you look at Martin Luther King Jr., that man did not make decisions in emotion, right? He made decisions in conviction. Conviction is a heart-based thing. To go, I can't not do this. And someone goes, well, how are you going to make that possible in your business, in your life, in your finances? And you're going to go, I have no fucking clue. I don't know. And the fact of the matter is, if I knew how, I probably wouldn't do it, because it's going to be hard, and it's going to require all of me, and it's going to require me asking for help and being vulnerable. And I wouldn't subscribe to that. So in fact, it's probably good that I don't know how. You know, like one of my favorite, we interviewed the guy who started Justin's Nut Butter. This had to have been 8 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, he sold it for like $250 million. I mean, something just mind-boggling, right? When we interviewed him 8 years ago, and I asked him, what's one thing that you would tell an entrepreneur starting out? And he's like, don't do it. He's like, if I knew then what I know now, I would never, ever have done this, because it is so hard. Yeah. And that is really like such a perfect, like Martin Luther King, it cost him his life, right? Yeah. If you watch the movie Hacksaw Ridge, Desmond Doss, he literally pulled 75 men off the battlefield. Like, had he known that at the start of, I'm not going to bear arms in this war, had he known what it was going to result in, guaranteed he would have been like, I'm out, peace. You know what? We'll just let somebody else do this. So I think it's really good to that's why we're doing so much of what we're doing online now, is because I'm like, I'm going to do my best to help people really understand what we mean by live by heart. We're not talking emotions. We're talking conviction. We're talking about raw. We're talking about living at a level you most haven't lived, of shutting off the brain and the chatter, to get people at such a deep level that they go, I can't avoid to live in my heart. I can't busy myself if I want to live in my heart. And I can't compare if I want to live in my heart. Those are going to be 3 prerequisites to get into the game. They can't come with you. And so here's the best thing that I encourage people. You've practiced avoiding. You weren't born avoiding, right? You practice being busy. You practice fearing, right? We practice worry. The only reason we're good worriers is because we practice it, not because we were put on the planet worrying, right? So what that tells me is you're that powerful to do those things. All I'm suggesting is try the other. Practice love, practice conviction, practice courage, practice the others for 28 years like you did these, and then see what could happen. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's just going to take some practice and getting your brain to start turning left when you've always turned right.
Good reminder. I like that a lot. I'm going to, practicing gratitude is one thing that I've been working on a lot, or at least showing it, but I'm going to add those to my list as well, because that's a great reminder. Just practice what we want to become, practice what we want to be better at.
What else I know I'll be doing,
and I even
making sure that my kiddos watch this replay. Because Julia, what you're sharing is not only relevant for adults, I think it's very relevant for the kids, which they're watching how we're acting now 24/7. So my kiddos will be rewatching this, just to let you know.
Oh, good. Well, and I think that's the hardest part about being a parent is because they are watching us 24/7 right now, and everyone is being squeezed, to your point, Elizabeth, like whether you're 6'4" or 44, like everybody is being squeezed. And so the moments that I can get down and just look at my kid in the eyes, whether it's my 2-year-old, my 6-year-old, or my 4-year-old, I'll make decisions in anger and to sit down with them and go, mommy is really sorry. Like, I need them to connect the dots of, we're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated. We are allowed, but we're not allowed to make decisions from that place. Like, that's not what's fair. And so I think even as a parent, that's the hardest journey, is to sit down and to tell your kids, like, man, I just missed it. Connect a few dots. Because then in theory, what they're looking at is, okay, that makes sense. Now I want to copy what I'm hearing them say, and then watching as they evolve and change and transform. And totally.
As a friend of ours said the other day on here, the content's still the same, but the delivery was off, right?
Yep.
So just like what you're talking about, we can't make decisions out of anger or fear, but that doesn't mean that they're not decisions that need to be made. You just have to deliver them a little bit differently. So.
What a gift you are, Julia.
Totally.
I'm so grateful to have this time with you. This is such a gift that you're sharing.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing, and
thank you, ladies.
Well, I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with, because I've seen you doing a lot of pivoting onto online a lot more, and you've always been really good at social media and putting yourself out there too. But I'm wondering where it's going to go, and I'm excited to see you grow in that way as well. Am I making this up? Did you start a podcast?
We are. I was just going to say, so the best place to follow us right now is just on my Instagram, which is at the Julia Gentry. And this month, May, our podcast launches, which is called Total Life Recall. Very exciting. And then we're also launching all of our online curriculum, a do-it-yourself course, a 6-week live training. So if you follow me on Instagram, we're kind of going live with all of this stuff this month. And then just ramping up what we can. We have a free weekly mastermind group that's just all about creating dreamers out of people. So all of that information can be found on my Instagram right now.
Okay, we'll have to share that in our links below as well, because I do want people to connect with you. Again, I'm lucky that I got to know you in a different way, but just so many people that you've impacted so many people in so many different ways, even in my circle, that I think we owe it to so many others to make sure they know how to connect with you as well.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I love your circle. I do.
We have a good circle.
And Brenda, still, when she changed her wedding date, I was like, actually, probably a good thing that she did. But I was so devastated because it was like 2 weeks before we had our baby.
I know, but I am telling you, I thought about that the other day, because when she changed it, I'm like, it's 30 degrees, and it was an outdoor wedding, and I was freezing, and I'm always cold, so I'm a big baby, and it was funny because I had been in New York with Renee for NASDAQ, and I had just borrowed Brenda's big ski coat, right, for the New York trip, so I brought it to her wedding, because I was like, I'm going to freeze out here, and it was awesome, because right after the wedding, I got to hand it back. I was like, oh, well, now you can take it home, but then with all of this, I mean, her wedding was supposed to be this month, and yeah. So, again, things happen for the reasons that they're supposed to happen, and we don't know, and we goes back to what you said earlier. Don't second guess it. Don't wonder. Just be in the moment and live each day on purpose. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, go hug on those babies, Julia.
I will. I will.
And if we can do anything for you ever, you know where to find me. You know where to find us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Likewise.
Bye, honey. Tell Travis hi.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, ladies.